Hello everyone, and welcome back to OWL by the Numbers, your one-stop spot for all things Fantasy Overwatch League. I am your host, Humbly Drunk, and tonight on episode 13, we'll be taking a look back at Stage 2, Week 3, get you primed for Overwatch League's first homestand weekend, gear you up for your unlimited drafts in the shortened week, and so much more. Before we can jump into the news and introduce you to my co-hosts, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who is hanging out with us live tonight on Twitch, and of course thank all of our repeat listeners out there. As you can tell, we do have a full house tonight as all hands are on deck. After some major upsets, multiple attack rounds, and the re-emergence of Dako on the Atlanta frontline, there's been quite a bit to discuss here over the last week. But to start things off, I just want to kind of go around and see how everyone's fantasy weeks fared. So Ramses, let's go ahead and start with you.
Hey there, Totem. Happy to be here tonight. If I'm being honest, my fantasy week, so I got the one win. I got one win in one league this week. And everywhere else, I fell absolutely short. I know I lost to you in one of our matchups, which I'm surprised you haven't brought up yet. I was expecting to get a little bit of salt for that one, but that I unfortunately made the bad decision to bet big on the Houston Outlaws this week, and we saw how that turned out if you watched any second of that game at all. And then my unlimited rankings just weren't good this week either. I suffered pretty heavily, but always happy to be here. Always happy to talk with you guys, figure out what our fantasy plan is going to be for the week going forward.
Absolutely, and Ed, I know you and I had a match this week as well. Unfortunately, that one did not go in my favor, but across the board, you definitely kind of rose up some ranks kind of across the board.
Hold on.
My friend.
All right.
I mean, I can sing that
was a
for
little
you.
All right, they can deal with it. Because I am a champion. I went 4-0 in my standard leagues. I climbed in every one of my pick'em leagues. I had my best unlimited week this stage. So I climbed in all my unlimited leagues. It was overall a great week for me. I think actually in the foul play, once the scores finalize, I'll have set my record for the highest single week score in the foul play league. So yeah, it was a phenomenal week. And it's kind of because the games were so crappy. Outside of the charge game,
Mm-hmm.
like everything was just kind of a blowout. Like the charge rain game, you got a lot of fantasy points because of those two maps. But there were no like big match 5 games and so on and so forth like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it allowed to have a more normalized week in fantasy. And that's when I come in and dominate. So I won them all. Me and Bobby won. That was a big win for us. So yeah, I'm in first place in 3 of my 4 leagues, and me and Bob are in second place in the other league.
Yeah, we're starting to even out a little bit more in the fantasy showdown, and hopefully, one of our teams is going to be able to overcome a foul play here in just a matter of time. As I know, A Smith and Deathblow are like 6-2, and I know all of us are 5-3 right now in that league. But Bob, how'd your fantasy week go this last week?
Well, once again, week after week, this week was yet another reminder that I should never plan to do a draft with you guys while at the airport. Because I lost yet again in our Al Network league, and I keep trying to build a team, but I just can't really do it. I keep grabbing people that like get a little bit of playtime, but then stop getting playtime. So doing bad at that league.
There's a simple solution to this, Bob. You need to do one thing, and I will trade you someone that could help your team. If you trade me a certain person I want.
I'll think about it. We can talk about it afterwards.
All right.
No shame, publicly shame.
But
I want to pay.
in the foul play league, if you want to K, you're trading me 2 players. But in the Foul Play League, Baby Bay carried me to another victory, so that was good. That one, I've just been kind of playing where I drop people and pick people up who are playing twice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really,
That's
some
the best
weeks
way
I've
to
had
win.
more time to do it, and some weeks I've had less time to do it. But like, it's worked pretty well, and I'm doing pretty good in that league. And then in the league, me and in the podcasters one, me and Ed are just killing it. Ed's the general, and I'm the trooper.
Mhm.
Totem, what's our standing on the team that we share?
The same as these two. We're both 5-3, and we also face each other in this week, which is going to be interesting. Knowing that both of us can actually field a full roster. In regards to the Foul Play League, I've won 3 in a row. The streak continues, so there is that. So slowly but surely, everyone's kind of like 4-4 right now, except for Ed. So next week I'm gonna get caught up at this point.
Wait, what is Ed at?
You're 7-1. You're not
Oh,
undefeated.
that's it. Oh, I forgot what that was at.
And is always staying humble, guys. But
I'm gonna buy a crown. I'm just gonna wear it every episode.
you do that.
I
And
think
then,
Ed is the one person that has it right, because Ed talks so much crap, and I mean that's what fantasy's about.
Mm-hmm.
So Ed definitely has won so far in this podcast
If
I'm
I'm
talking.
middle to last, I'm still trash talking.
technically, Ed hasn't won until he overthrows me in the Unlimited Leagues. Then he'll hold all of the crowns.
The last Infinity.
This is
Stone.
true. That is
the last bastion, would you say?
Boom.
Alright, well anyways, let's go ahead and jump in as, this week is a shortened week. We have games on Saturday and Sunday. It's also the first homestand weekend, which I know Bob is going to be at over in Dallas, and I know, you're greatly looking forward to that. But Ramses, now, knowing that, there's only 8 teams playing, did that kind of change how you went about looking for waiver pickups here in the last week?
It definitely did, but it was even different compared to the last short schedule from last stage. I don't know if you guys followed a similar approach, where at this point I have a lot of players that I can't afford to drop to start a full playing roster for week 4, to the point that some people, granted you may not be in this position if you have a not great record, I think I'm going to try and push my luck and just stick with my starting roster for the most part and hope that I somehow managed to get through to get through scar free.
Mhm.
But I did come up on a pickup here and there. I did make sure to grab KSF from the Valiant. He seems to be the primary hit scan DPS for that team as of late. Just checking his scores really quickly when I find them. Yeah, one game this week, put in 161.77 points. Good numbers. Seems like he's going to be the full-time hit scan starter over Kariv. And the Valiant, of course, for being a team that is hard to watch on stage, they certainly put up their fair share of points. What about you guys? Does anybody here have some sleepers for the week?
Well, for this week, I know in the Foul Play League, I definitely was a little bit more aggressive in my waiver pickups, primarily just due to the fact that when I looked at my roster, I only had 2 players on my roster that could have been fielded this week, and I'm not in a position where I could just throw away a week in that league after winning, 3 weeks straight, and I'm trying to, keep pace with everyone else. So, there were a couple of people that I was trying to keep an eye on. I know... Here, let me just pull this up really quick. I did make a couple of waiver pickups that I'm looking at. KSF was one of the names that I picked up. I also picked up Nico from Paris Eternal as well. But outside of that, it's pretty been like hit or miss. I also picked up Cruz as well from Paris. But it's kind of like at the point now where a lot of the other people that I picked up over time just have a little bit too much flexibility, so I'm not still able to field a complete roster in regards to the Raw Scoring League, which is unfortunate But, a lot of us are kind of going to be in a similar situation. Not everyone's going to be able to field an entire team out of the 8 teams that are going to be playing this week.
Yeah, I mean, the big one I looked at actually was tanks. Because there's a lot of obvious tanks. Like, you look at the fuel, OGE and Note, probably taken. Valiant, Space is gone. Soul, there's Michelle, and then there's don't trust any of the other tanks.
My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, don't trust any.
It's Michelle.
Michelle. And then Outlaws, really, you can, I mean...
You don't have to feel good about starting.
I mean,
Coleman.
I was actually going to say Arhan for the Outlaws because he's probably available in a lot of leagues, and he's going to have 2 games this week. So especially if you're in a raw scoring.
Yeah. Amen is the only tank for the Hunters. The Spark, you could pick up Gushue, but he's probably not available. Rhea might be available. No one from the Spitfire is available. The one that I've seen available that I would say go and pick up is Cloudy from Paris.
What about Marvel? Would you say Marvel from Seoul?
I don't know if I trust Marvel. And not Marvel. It's I don't know if I trust the Dynasty.
Yeah, can we really call that squad the B squad now?
They've been
Really
starting
call it
all
that?
the time now.
Yeah, they've been, they're the main squad. It's just, are you 100% sold that Fitz is going to be the DPS over Fleta?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you believe Fitz, if you truly believe Fitz will start over Fleta every time, then yes, you can pick up Marvel. Because they kind of go hand in hand. It's a matter of I don't know if they're going to go back to Fusion and Fleta playing because it's kind of like it's with the Atlanta Reign thing. It's like everyone who trusted.
He meant
hold
Fisher.
on. Did you
said
say
Fusion.
You meant Fisher. Gotcha. Okay,
Fisher.
cool.
It's like
Making sure I'm not crazy.
It's kind of like the Fried Daco situation with Atlanta. You didn't know where they were going, and obviously we found out Daco's back in full time. Fried's not.
Yeah, but the difference is it's been more than just a week or 2 at this point already.
Wait, I thought his name was Freddie.
Well, and even then, I don't know if Doc.
You guys keep changing stuff on me.
They had them subbing every other map, right?
No, they started Fried one map, the first map, and then they put Daco in the rest.
Okay, I'm wrong.
Yeah, the Atlanta argument that Daco wasn't the reason for Atlanta doing well was, Fried came in for one map.
Yeah.
They're actually on the broadcast calling him FRD, which I think makes a lot more sense.
That's not what it was.
Anybody watching TV that sees them, like watching on Disney or New or something, sees them call him Fried, they're like, I don't see a Fried on the team.
Well, I don't see a
FRD. Is that what they mean? Like, if this guy wants to say his name is something other than it's not, then that's not our fault.
I don't see a Giannis on there either, but apparently that's what Janice's name is. So
I don't see a W next to the Outlaws.
Oof. Feels bad.
Let me get the dead horse out of the closet, Ed. 1 second.
Don't worry, that dead horse is getting beaten some more.
All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about some of the player performances here in this last week. So there was definitely some pretty notable names that definitely fell a little bit short. So Ed, who were some of the players that we're going to be taking a look at this week?
All right, so a couple that we're going to take a look at is Fried or FRD.
Yeah, I'm gonna every time I say it, I'm gonna say FRD, aka Fried.
And sorry. So Fried scored 47.53 points. At this point, he's not starting over Daco. Daco kind of supplanted Fried as the main flex tank, and it was kind of obvious. Like it was night and day difference. The Reign looked when Daco got in there. So I don't know if you have the spot to hold Fried. Hold him maybe for another 2 weeks because in all honesty he's not playing next week. There's only one more week after that for this stage, and then you have the complete the long bye between stage 2 and 3, so you could in theory hold on to him. I'm 37, dropped 81.8 points. A lot of people were really high on him, and I still think people need to hold on to him. He is the Zarya player. He's not the best Zarya player on that team,
But still a Zarya player.
but he's still the Zarya player. He's just not putting up any point.
Yeah, I know this one in particular really bit me in the ass in our game, Ed, because, you know, we've seen him doing fairly well on the role, but it seems like he has shown a little bit of regression where he's just not quite getting the usage out of his Graviton Surge. So I don't know if it's going to be a case of maybe they're just going to put him on Brigida Jail, because that's what he did play prior, or what the situation is, but it was definitely something that made me kind of just like, oh man, I really needed like 120 out of him, like what he had been putting up, and that did not happen this week.
Yeah, so I'm 37 is definitely someone. Obviously, this week you keep on the bench since he's not playing. But you want to keep him on the team because next week, week 5, he does play 2 matches. He's so week 5, there's actually only I think 6 or 7 teams that play 2 matches. So you really want to keep a close eye on that. So I'm 37 will be big coming up in 2 weeks. So definitely keep a hold of him. Jinmu had 70.06 points. Yes, that was very low for him. But everyone on the Chengdu Hunters did really bad. They got smoked by the Gladiators 3-1, and that 3-1 wasn't a close 3-1. He still actually scored more points than anyone else on the Hunters this week.
Yikes.
Exactly. He had 70.06 points, highest scoring person on the team. So I mean, I think this is a fluke week for Jinmu. If you want to think of it as a buy low type of option, try and trade for him because he does have 2 matches coming up this week in the Dallas homestand.
Yeah, I do quickly want to note and get your guys' thoughts on that team as a whole when it comes to Fantasy Overwatch League, primarily just due to the fact that out of the 20 teams, Hunters throw a number of different looks at you, which does include more substitutions as opposed to the vast majority of the leagues out there. So how do you think that reflects in how these players do in fantasy?
I mean, right now for me, there's 2 startable people for the Hunters and no one else. You know, when I'm talking Jinmu and Elsa, I don't even know if Kaio is startable with that team. Just because he floats, he does non-high point getting flex support. So you see him play a little bit of Ana, Zenyatta, but that's when they play Goats, and they play Goats so little that he can't be as effective as Zenyatta. So I honestly think Jinmu and Elsa are the only true startable ones. Kaio, obviously worth having on your team. But yeah, it's a very up in the air team. Like, I want to love Bacon Jack, but he's just not consistent. I mean, he only played 1 map and got 13 points this week.
Well, Totem and I tried to love Bacon Jack, and then we paid the price for it when we got no points out of him.
I mean, I like Bacon, and I like Jack Daniels. I even like them together. Bacon Jack, I don't like
Jack
them.
Cheese, too, probably. But Meng's an amazing Wrecking Ball, but Wrecking Ball stats are really low. I mean, really low. Like, I've been playing him a lot, actually, on the ladder and learning him, and you get no satisfaction because as Ryan, like, oftentimes I'm silver or gold damage and he limbs in the Goats meta, you know?
Right.
But, like, as Wrecking Ball in the DPS meta, I'm, like, barely meddling in anything, and it's got to be bad. So if a ball meta comes in, main tanks are going to go to the wayside fantasy-wise.
Exactly. And like, this is one thing, like, I saw on, God, was it Twitter? I saw it somewhere. If ball becomes the meta, will Meng still be the number 1 ball? It's just a matter of fact that nobody's playing
actually, well, okay, so, like, I saw Fusions play ball a ton because they really forced either... When played Vancouver, they either forced ball DPS or they forced bunker comp on attack and defense, and Fusions reminded me of me on the ladder trying to like line up where I'm going to shoot my hook, like just stopping. But if you watch Amang, dude never stops. Dude's just always moving around. And I mean, that's what makes him so effective on ball. I think a lot of people are going to play catch up, but boy, just imagine if we went to a meta where it was just ball and the DPS comp, tanks would be worthless. Like you just have to pray that they're running the diva variant, or how is anybody going to start 2 tanks?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just as fun as the hunters are to watch. Jinmu and Elsa are the only 2 truly startable ones.
I will say there's somebody, we've been slouching a lot of people here. There's somebody that I think we need to mega vouch for this week, and that is Sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
If no one is, if by some miracle Sleepy's still available in your league, go pick him up. Checking the stats really quickly.
But just a side note on that, Sleepy's not playing next week,
Right.
so he's not playing week 4.
Yes, I would argue that he's still someone you need to grab a roster spot for anyway, just because
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to throw that disclaimer out.
It's a high-performing flex support. 170.25 in a game that he apparently had 3 hours of scrim time to get ready for.
I mean, the thing is, the Justice are real bad.
Oh, for sure.
Well,
I don't think the scrim time matters in the fact of, hey, just go in and play with these players who are way worse than who you're used to playing with.
Yeah, which is a big thing, because like if you're expecting peels and like that doesn't happen, like all of a sudden you go from being an awesome Zen to
I mean, have you seen them? Do you think Guido, even after playing with them for 7, expected peel? I mean, like, in all honesty, obviously the number 1 pickup should have been Sleepy for anyone in the league, because
yeah, good call.
Guido was actually a very viable flex support. I mean, to be honest, he has the number 1 scoring week of any fantasy player in stage 2.
yeah, but he was also getting subbed out for a flex DPS, also to play flex support.
But if Guido can be the number 1 flex support in stage 2 points wise for at least 1 week, because we're only 3 weeks in. So for 1 week he had the highest combined and highest single game average. Imagine what somebody who's far more talented than Guido being able to do.
Right.
I mean, like, his healing will be massive, because the team around him, and you hate to put it like this, but the team around them sucks so bad they need a lot of healing.
Yeah, but the other main healer is Ark though too.
It is. And
Although Ark
has
hasn't
done good
shown me anything great on Lucio play.
No. And that was one of our
So-
big questions about him too, kind of going into this trade.
too. I mean, I completely agree, but even Ark, still scored over 100 points at fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's not too shabby. But, I mean, Sleepy had 170 points this week for the Justice.
And in his first game with a day of practice.
Yeah, that's 50 more than anyone else on the team. Like, Sleepy needed to be your number 1 pickup coming into this week if he was available.
Yep.
He was
Good
available.
point, Ramses.
Yes. He was available in one of our leagues that we are all in.
I made
I
sure
didn't
to
put in for him.
I made sure. I need any help I can get.
Yeah.
And
So-
Sleepy's he's the kind of player where I think that even him being on a bad team, he's still going to get you a consistent number of points.
He might turn into the next Izzyaki.
I mean, honestly, the way this is all panning out, you don't want people on good teams. You just don't.
Yeah.
The
Dominant
downfall-
teams.
Yeah,
Dominant
because dominant teams win team fight, win next team fight, win next team fight, that means not a lot of stats racked up. You know, like if the team fights aren't going back and forth, you're beating the map in record time, and that's not the best for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like the best matchups this year have been between the crappiest teams. Like if you look at it this week, the Charge players did the best. Charge are not a good team.
Well, they also
know.
basically played what was effectively like 9 maps in that series against Atlanta, just due to how many timing attacks there were too.
But because they were playing another not that great team. You know, the Justice Mayhem game in week 1 was like the highest scoring, like 4 of the top 5 highest scoring players in week 1 were from that match because those teams were so bad they just didn't play. Like nobody got smoked.
Week 1 of this stage, or
This stage.
Okay.
Whereas if you're starting someone from the New York Excelsior, the San Francisco Shock, or the Vancouver Titans, you're like, all right, I hope you can score me 125 points this week.
Wait, who'd you say the Mayhem and
Wasn't it Mayhem versus Justice?
Yeah, no, they weren't in the top. At least week 6 would be the first week of this stage.
Who am I thinking of then? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We got dead air, but I just wanted to make
that was
sure
week
fact
5,
check
so
that
that
real
was-
quick.
That was
Okay.
week 5, so the last
So the
week of
final
stage
week.
1.
Okay.
So
You're right. Good call.
it's, you don't want these, and like I have a lot of San Francisco Shock players across all my teams, and like as good as Sinatra was in stage 1, stage 2, he still puts up decent numbers, but he's not putting up great numbers. Even though he's
destroying everybody.
exactly like, hey, you're winning 4-0 every map.
Yeah, 20 maps straight.
You're like, hey, thanks for getting over 100 points this week. Sometimes.
And you know, that
So-
was
Like it.
that was the one thing that Houston had going for them, and now it's gone.
We can't have anything. We can't have anything.
A long, long time ago.
The Houston
was a
the
good
Houston dream of trading for Sleepy is now dead, which is another taken away from us as well.
If that would have happened, you would have 100% lost the bet with.
Oh yeah, I would take it.
I feel you should just concede the bet to me now.
I am not calling it until we're done with the season and I see the final stats. Raucus is still a top 10 support. Not really, but I'm hoping, please.
Bench Raucus, put in Bonnie.
Please, Jeff, please.
Alright, well anyways, let's go ahead and go around and nominate our choice for the player of the week. So Bob, let's go ahead and start with you. Who stood out amongst the pack for you?
You had Bob go first, so I couldn't steal his suggestion this time. I see.
I'm on the shoo train. Yep. And I wanted to be on the Happy train, but Shoo scored so much. But Happy, like I drafted in two different leagues, one league. I don't know, but if I've got him on at least one of my teams, maybe 2, and I'm excited for him to be playing. So, but I still have to go with Shoo. What about you, Ramses?
See, I thought you were going to take away my boy. I thought you were going to take away the king, Baby Bay.
Yeah, Baby Bay carried me, so I left that. But like, it was too exciting to see Shoo and the Guangzhou Charge. Like, people might be dropping those players because they had such a long stint of just not playing well. So
Yeah, it was definitely one of the few scoring anomalies that we've really seen as of late.
Yep. But Baby Bay, huh?
194 points for best game format, which is most of the reason why I won in our personal podcasters league. And then because this is a guy that I was really uncertain about whether or not I should hold on to. I even debated dropping him last week because I was worried that they were going to finally make the decision to put Enlar in for more of the maps. And
Which game did he get the high score on? Was it New York or was it?
I'm pretty sure it was New York.
It was in New York.
It wasn't. I'm wrong on every.
Dude, he like if you look at any of the Charge Green players, just look at the map they played on Sunday.
What's what you get for playing the highest scoring Overwatch League game?
And
of all
it
time?
wasn't even that. The map before that was just as long too. Like they had 2 crazy long maps.
It was like what 8 to 7 and then 7 to 6 or something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Yeah.
Just crazy. But what about you, Totem?
I actually went with Sleepy, who put up, as we mentioned earlier, 170.25 points. Now, the reason why I went with Sleepy was primarily just due to the fact that he played every map for the Justice. But this is the Justice. They only finished with 6 map objectives in that 4-map series, which isn't a big number by any stretch of the imagination, but his average just across the board really stood out. And I'm expecting to see, some fairly good things, as he's going to be, probably high scoring on one of the lowest scoring teams. So I'm expecting big things for him ahead.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like you think about the Outlaws on Anubis this last week against Shanghai, and you think, wow, they both felt like full held. That had to be the lowest scoring game or match ever. But what do you think, Ed?
So I actually have 2. The first one, and Totem, don't judge me. I went with the Dog Man.
Because of the bowl cut.
No, not because of the bowl cut.
Yeah, because they failed that. They failed that.
No. It was horrible.
Should have started right here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
'Cause
like
that
he
would
had
have made him
the
look the
front-
dumbest.
He had
Started
his
right
front
here.
like tucked up. So like when they took the bowl off, his front hair flopped down.
Yeah, but I mean, Bren freaked out. Bren cut like right around here to the back and then stopped. Because like everybody was afraid he was going to cut Dogman's ear off.
But all right, so I went with Dogman. Yes, he scored a lot of points, but that's expected with the map with the charge. The thing that stuck out to me for the Dogman is the amount of deaths. Like that was the biggest knock I had on him. Is he used to die first a lot, and they even pointed this out on the broadcast. How he has dramatically decreased the amount of first deaths he has, which in turn will lead to more fantasy points because he's not dead. So, Dogman, the other one, the non-charge Atlanta player, essentially, because those were the 2 highest scoring teams, is Michel.
Mabel.
From Seoul Dynasty. He was the number 3 tank this week. In one match, he scored 140 points, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for a tank nowadays, 140 points is a lot for a tank. So the only other 2 above him were Hotba and Rio, both for the charge. So Michel scored 140 points in a match against the Dallas Fuel, which wasn't what I would call a close match. But 140 points in a not close match for a tank is a lot. So Michel really stepped it up and really proved his worth.
I like it. All right.
Burn blue.
It's a very dim burn at this point after this past week. But, you guys will talk about Dallas here in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and preview some of the marquee matches for Stage 2, Week 4, during this homestand weekend. So we'll start with some of the Saturday games before we go into Sunday. And, Bob and Ramses will both be stating their case for their respective Texas teams, which should provide for some interesting banter. But to start off, let's talk about the battle for EU between the Paris Eternal versus the London Spitfire. So right now, Paris is one of the 2 win teams of this current stage. You have London Spitfire, who are currently undefeated, who basically, if they come out on top of this one, are guaranteeing themselves a spot in the Stage 2 playoffs. So Bob, I'm going to throw this one to you. Who do you feel like is going to have the edge in this series?
I think I have the same opinion as everybody in this room, and that is that London's going to trounce them 4-0. Paris, I have lost all faith in. There's no way London doesn't win this. This is pretty cut and dry.
This is payback for Stage 1, where Paris kept talking about how they were the actual European team and how bad London was.
Yeah, I mean, London's caught up now. London was one of the slowest teams to show back up in LA and start scrimming. So London's back to form. Bird Ring is hot in stage 2, so it means it's going to be cold in stage 3 and back hot in stage 4. So this, this like Bird Ring is a streaky player like Taimu is, and Bird Ring's on right now. So
yeah, I feel like the Spitfire across the board really elevated just their overall game, and it does reflect inner fantasy performances as well. So it was a case of this is one of the teams that might hit a couple of ruts throughout the season, but they're going hot, and they're going to be going hot into the stage playoffs here in the upcoming weeks. And London has a legit shot at being one of multiple undefeated teams in this current stage, and I would definitely expect a 4-0 as well. Just seeing how Eternal have slowly continued to descend into the depths of the power rankings, and London have definitely kind of like marked themselves as a top 5 team at this point.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is that Gesture's gotten to play a lot more Monkey this stage, and I think that's been huge.
Yeah, a lot more comfortable on that specific role as opposed to the Reinhardt, which has been the case for a couple of other main tanks as well. So moving on, also on Saturday, we have one of the interesting Chinese matches between the Hangzhou Spark and the Chengdu Hunters. And Ed, I know you are rocking the Hangzhou Spark, the pink and blue skin jersey right now, and of course in-game as well. Who do you think is going to come out on top of this one?
So this is probably actually the best matchup of the week when you really look at both sides of the team. Not because they're both great teams, but they're both middle of the road teams.
And with Crystal playing now, they might be able to bring a DPS against them.
Yeah, like the Spark will be able to go DPS for DPS with the Chengdu Hunters, I think. They may be able to run goats against them. It's I love the way the Spark are playing now, and they did talk about this week, and you could tell the Spark are playing super ultra aggressive now, and I like that. It's a team that could really punish the Hunters is with aggressiveness. Because MN kind of thrives on getting to the backline players, doing all that fun stuff. Well, if they're pushing on your team, MN has no chance at picking off your backline players with his slam. Boys be boys, slam! Sorry, my inner ESPN jock jams just came out. But I'm gonna go 3-2 on this one for the Spark. I think it's gonna go 5 matches. I think this will be the most interesting matchup, not from a crowd perspective, because obviously Fuel Outlaws will do that, but from an actual matchup perspective, Spark versus the Hunters will be the number one matchup to watch. So 3-2 Spark.
I just hope we get to see a ton of DPS play in that particular series. Play DPS, you cowards.
See, Crystal is finally being able to shine. Like Bob said, Crystal being able to shine is huge because Crystal was one of the reasons I became a Spark fan in the first place. So seeing him in there is awesome. Crystal and Godspeed together, it's just like.
Could you say it's like a decay effect?
No, because we don't.
Explain the terminology, Bob. Make that work.
No, because the Spark don't have a fan favorite on the ride in the Pine. And that works for 2 teams. It works for them, the Gladiators, and New York Excelsior. Boom! Double entendre.
Alright, well, moving on to Sunday, we have the Seoul Dynasty going up against the LA Valiant. So Dynasty, they seem to have focused on a specific starting roster here with Marvel and Fitz being on the DPS role. LA Valiant have slowly, been showing some improvements, and kind of gone away with Kariv on the Zarya role, which was definitely one of the weaker spots, and KSF has definitely emerged as a stronger performer than what we have seen from him in the past. So Ramses, how do you think this one is going to fare? Do you feel like this is going to be closer than a lot of people might be leading on to believe?
I really hope it is. I really hope it is, but I don't see that happening. The B team has been pretty solid for the past couple weeks for Seoul, if you could even call it a B team in that Marvel and
Yeah, you got to call it Captain Marvel.
Marvel has been playing pretty well. I don't understand why you would sit Fleta in favor of Fitz, but they're winning with it, so shows what I know. It's
Your fantasy team also shows what you know.
hey, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right, sir. Get out of here. I won. I beat you on a technicality last week. Get out of here. But I think that fantasy-wise, I don't expect this to be a very great game, if I'm being honest. I feel like Soul 4-0's the Valiant. And the Valiant seem to be when they get 4-0'd as hard as they have been by better teams, the production is just not there at all. Then again, I don't know if Soul's going to have good production in a 4-0, but I expect it to be dominant. I expect Soul to win pretty handily. I think 3-1.
All right, and of course, all of this is going to lead into the big match of the weekend, at least for the home crowd, and that is between the Houston Outlaws and the Dallas Fuel. And lo and behold, we just so happen to have a fan of both teams on this podcast. So, you've probably seen people doing this on, on Watchpoint, where, they try to, state their claim for their respective team as to why they are going to come out ahead of this series. And both of these teams had a rough week this past week. Was not pretty, really, on either side. But I know, Ramses, in your case, you've beginning to lose a little bit of hope for Houston as they continue to trip upstairs. It's been rough, and Bob is dealing with the green and the blue lights in the kitchen, all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and have you guys state your claim for your team coming out on top in this series. Bob, let's go ahead and start with you on this one.
Well, I mean, honestly, I wish I could be completely confident, but I do believe that I've said this on now 2 podcasts this week, High Noon and Al Recap, but I believe that the Fuel are a better team. But at the same time, the Outlaws have never lost to the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel's never beat them. So both teams are going to really want this. And it's kind of like I explained it in NFL terms, like teams that play in the same division, like no matter how bad the team sucks, normally it's a pretty good game against an A-tier team. And so because of that rivalry, I think that it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to go 5 maps. I do think Dallas is going to end up winning. But if Houston's able to take Lijiang and then Anubis 2-0 right off the bat, Dallas gets 4-0'd. Because Dallas has been 4-0'd by every opponent that's went up 2-0 on them this season. It's like they shut down. So I don't think that it's in the bag. I think that Houston definitely has a chance.
See, I'm with Bob. I think it's in the bag, but I think it's in the sandbag more specifically because
man.
My philosophy here is that Houston has been sandbagging this entire stage just to show up literally for this one game, play really well against Dallas, and then continue to be crap for the entire rest of the stage.
Well, Flame is one hell of an actor because I've seen him on multiple podcasts since his Twitter fiasco, and definitely not a fake.
I think, I don't know, part of it feels like because it would just be such a hilarious, almost ironic ending for Dallas to lose to the Outlaws at home. Dallas easily are the better put together and better run team, but there's something intangible with Houston where when it's on and when the switch is flipped and they're going on all, they can roll really hard. We haven't seen it at all, not even stage this season, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen at all. I think it's going to be close. even though I got torn to shreds this last week for over believing in Houston, I'm going to continue that for just one more week. Houston wins 3-2.
Yeah, and I mean, really, Dallas is coming off an 0-8. Like, they got 4-0'd twice. So, morale's going to be down. And tilt is a real thing. And that's what your team, Houston, suffered from last week. If they could just relax and play and have a good time and smile, that like it'll be a big help. Muma has been getting tilted match 1 for a couple weeks now.
Well, and I think a part of it is that we were talking about this on Push the Point, that Muma feels a lot of the time that it's up to him to make the hero play because clearly other stuff isn't working. And so Muma goes for the hero play, Muma gets picked, the team falls apart. I agree with you that if they can just
I think that happens to a lot of teams, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I think that happened to Dallas multiple times this last thing. Like, they are a team that doesn't have stars that are just going to pop off. They're a team that, when working together, they do a really good job. I think Houston's biggest problem right now is they don't have a true shot caller in there. And even though Jake might be mechanically lower than a lot of the people on their team, he's the only true leader on the team, in my opinion.
Exactly. I also think Dallas-wise, it's going to come down because we're going to just assume Houston loses the soul. Congratulations, Totem. We're going to assume Houston loses the soul. I think the Dallas game is going to Dallas-Houston is going to be heavily influenced by how Dallas performs against the Valiant. Because I could also see you have all these nerves, like this is your homestand week and you have to perform for local fans. I could see it getting to them in the Valiant game and that either being a loss or them that being way harder of a game than it has any right to be. And if it does, that could keep going into the Dallas-Houston game the next day.
I have pretty good faith on the Valiant because, in stage 4 of last season, I know it's quite a bit different team, but like the Valiant's scared of Dallas. But I mean, at the same time, they both have the same record, so.
Ed, I feel like you need to bring this one home and state a case why no one is going to win in this series, just because we haven't had the animosity that I was hoping for.
Right? I wanted to say that. I'm like, my God, you two are the two most passive-aggressive arguers I've ever met in my life.
No, I'm just truthful, man. I can't
No.
We have been conditioned to have low expectations every single.
You should have said, "Hey, debate as fans instead of Overwatch League and analysts." Like, debate as fans would have been a totally different conversation.
Bob went with the, all right, I'm protecting my ass in case Dallas actually loses. And Julian is like, I have to come up with random reasons why the Houston Outlaws might win. That is what basically happened. Let's just point this out right now. The Houston Outlaws have won one map this stage. One map. They've lost 10. They've won 1. Dating back the last 4 games, sorry, I'll bump it up. 2 maps in their last 4 games, going back to last stage. Okay? Their 2 best players, Muma, who I will give you, is a good player, and Linkser, who plays 1 map a series, and then they put in Arhan. Their support line is, give me the Justice's support line every day over the Houston Outlaws support line. I mean, the DPS line, Dante's doing fine. He's basically playing middle of the road. And then you have Arhan, who is not performing well. And I don't know why they don't have Linkser in there. That's beyond me. Whereas then you go and you look at the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel have now one of the best tank lineups in the Overwatch League, because Note has really been able to bring OGE out of to a new level.
But OG is definitely still, like, he's still streaky, dude.
He's still streaky, but Note has made him better.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Did. We now know Note has flexibility, which none of us knew beforehand. You know, Unco and Closer.
Which they didn't sport at all this week for some reason.
No, they didn't. But like, I mean, when you get 4K bombs like he does, you don't really need that much flexibility. Unco and Closer, while they're not the best support duo in the league, they're definitely up there. And then you have the DPS line of AKM and Zachary, who, if you're asking me, as good as those two are playing, are probably the weak spots of this team.
Well, I will say Zachary has been getting punished with his position in a lot.
Yeah, he's not a very good Brig. It's very unfortunate, and unfortunately, he's unlike EQO, who's also not a very good Brig.
Mm-hmm.
EQO, you could tell, is really trying. Zachary is not. He talks smack on Brig every chance he gets, and I mean, Zach, if you're listening, like I would say, dude, you'll have your chance to shine. Work on Brig.
But I mean, Zach and AKM is still a better DPS lineup than Dante and Arhan. I mean, I would take Dallas's, like, every aspect of Dallas versus Houston. Dallas has the upper hand in all 6 spots.
And
The best
Arhan's
player
good.
is
He
the
just
7th best Dallas Fuel player.
But I mean, Arhan could be really good. He just can't communicate with the team. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
So there's no way. I'll give Houston 1 map. I will allow them to double their maps for this stage.
Look,
I hope you're right, dude. But I think like sports magic could happen here.
But what sports magic? If sports magic is going to happen, it'll happen for the Dallas Fuel, because it's a Dallas home game. It's in Dallas.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, like I didn't have to show my fuel card at the door when I, bought tickets. I guarantee you, I'm gonna have outlaws surrounding me.
Okay, so with that in mind, I just want to get Bob's opinion on this. What do you think the split is going to be in regards to the fan support? Like, if you were to put like a percentage on Dallas Fuel fans as opposed to Houston Outlaws fans at that venue?
Well, I would say it's gonna be more. It's gonna be more Dallas. I would say if it was this same time last season, you might have had something, but I like Houston fans. I like not Rob from Omnic Lab like told us the other day. He's like, I got to get a new team. We're like, Rob, that's not how it works, dude. You have to stick with your team. But like, if he's wavering, then probably a lot of fans are wavering, and it's like you do have your hardcore fans and you have your fair weather fans, and fortunately, I think in most situations, like across all sports, like most situations are fair weather fans, where you do have your really strong non-fair weather fan bases, like the Chiefs would be one I would think. Boston Red Sox would be one I would think of. Like teams that have lost so much but still have a huge fan base, and it's rare in sports. So I think the fair weather fans are pretty, and Envy already had a ton of fan base, and Houston built that fan base in season 1 by doing a lot of curricular stuff at the stadium and doing a lot of interviews. So I think a lot of their fans were new fans.
I'm totally on board with you, Bob. Just that, agreeing with what you said about Rob, where I still love this team. I love a lot of the players, but every time I watch this team and they start struggling, I just start hearing Ed's voice back in my head, like, "Wow,
hey,
classic Outlaws again."
You stay strong, brother.
From the apartment
right where
that
I was
Ed owns in my
last
head
year.
at this point.
Stay strong,
Stop
brother.
agreeing
You're
with
right
me.
where I was.
Christ's
You're
sake.
right where I was. The fuel
You are-
sucked. They were dumpster fire last year.
You
So
are Dallas Fuel fans and Outlaw fans. You're not allowed to. You need to add each other's throats. You both are giant disappointments right now.
You know what?
I'm
And Ed-
ashamed of both of you.
Ed, I agree with you. I understand. But you know what I also believe in? I believe in miracles. Houston Outlaws up 3-2 over the Dallas Fuel this weekend.
The thing
Anyway,
is I don't believe you.
I
Because
believe,
you don't
Ed.
believe it.
I believe.
I believe Houston can fly.
I believe.
I believe Ramses could touch the sky.
This will be the time they play 3DPS, Ed. I'm telling you, this is going to be it. They're finally going to do it.
You know why I know this isn't going to be the case? It's because Houston comes out and they're like, okay, we have this control set where we're going to run Linkser on hitscan, and then they don't even win those maps, and then they just revert back to playing 3-3 and then just, hitting their head against the wall repeatedly,
And-
time and time again.
On top of that, they're like, hey, well, let's, Linkser's been the Brig every time he's been in. Dante's been the Zarya. Let's just swap the roles and see what happens. I mean, that's, another factor. I mean, they tried something different. Linkser was on Zarya, but wasn't that good.
Yeah, but you also, and Ed, I know I think I mentioned this in the Saf Lounge at one point, you also have Dallas, who, if you watch their series when they were on Watchpoint Gibraltar, didn't even want to play to the point where they were stalled in a cart with a May Ice Wall. Inconsistent.
The good old hide in the corner.
Oof. But anyways, let's quickly talk about the Unlimited Draft this week. So it is a travel week. We have 8 teams playing. Everyone is playing 2 games. And, we might have a little bit more, maybe more team-driven approaches this week if we feel like there are better matchups, or just based off of, how specific teams have been doing as of late, especially London Spitfire. But Ramses, who do you have starting for your Unlimited League this week?
So I did I did an even split between Dallas Fuel and London Spitfire with one other player thrown in. So my current lineup would be Unko as my captain, Prophet and AKM as my DPS, Badoshin and Izayaki as my flex supports, and then Fury and Note as my tanks. And I'm thinking on Fury, because Fury's pretty consistent for low hundreds of a score.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I really have any better options other than Fury at this point.
All right, and do you have any variations to that?
I do.
No, don't allow variations because Ed will pick 5 players from each one.
No, actually, I have a very roster to Julian's. I'm doing Prophet AKM as my DPS. I'm doing Izayaki and Badoshin as my 2 supports. I have Note Fury. The one is extra one on top of that is Godspeed. I'm using Godspeed as my captain this week. Just because I went pure matchup there.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Sparks matchups. I think will have a chance to have the closest matchups this week because they play the Chengdu Hunters and then the Paris Eternal. So, they have the best chance to have longer, more detailed matches. So, I think anyone from the Spark would be a good choice. Like, Gooshwave might even be a good choice. Bebe might be a really good choice. So, but yeah, I went Godspeed. So, almost identical.
Interesting.
What about you, Bob?
Unfortunately, I keep learning that Ed is really a savant when it comes to. Ed was a good choice for this podcast because Ed is really good. I have to give you props, dude. You are really, really good at this. And it makes sense since you play 7 different other sports fantasy leagues. But, so I didn't actually prepare for this one, so I'm going to do it on the fly. I'm going to go. Let's do tanks first. For tanks, I'm going to go with Fury. Dang it. Yeah, it's going to be the same. Fury. I'll go with Fury and Note. And then for the DPS, I'll definitely go with Crystal and Prophet. And then for the supports, I will go with Izayaki. And actually, Unko as my other one because the Dallas, on paper, the Dallas Fuel have an easy freaking week this week. So please, boys, keep it together.
All right, as for mine isn't finalized yet because there's one team in particular that I'm still kind of on the fence about. But right now, who I have penciled in for my tank line, I have Note and Michelle. For supports, I have Badoshin and Ryu Jaehan. And after the performance that Jaehan and Toby had this last week, I'm expecting them to build off of that momentum. For DPS, I have Prophet and Fitz. Fitz is kind of like my question mark one. Godsby was the other DPS person I was looking at playing. And for Captain, I have Izayaki, which might be a bit of a stretch. I don't know. Izayaki's kind of like always one of the weird flex supports. But I'm debating whether I'm going to start him or Unko as the captain of my team. But, you know, I feel pretty comfortable playing a majority of the London Spitfire players at this point, just because they seem to be not only doing very well as just a team, but, you know, it's reflected in the results as well as their fantasy performances, and Prophet, Bedosian, and Birdring have really been putting up some pretty monster numbers throughout this stage. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how the strength of schedule is going to come into play, whether we'll get the DPS-centric matchup that we're expecting with the Hunters and the Spark, because if that's the case, then really all bets are off in regards to some of the fantasy numbers that we could expect to see in that particular series. But with that being said, guys, we're going to go...
Hold on, can I say one more thing? It's interesting, because you said Ryu Jae Hong, and it made me think, like, I picked Unko for the same reason. Like, they're playing the exact same teams. Like, Dallas is playing the Valiant and the Outlaws, and so is Seoul.
Right.
So, but I would have changed mine to Ryu Jae Hong and Unko.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, with that being said, guys, you know, it's going to be a very interesting week. And just as a reminder, games are Saturday and Sunday this week. We have Thursday and Friday off just due to the home stand weekend. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close out the show for tonight. So, of course, you know, you can support us a number of different ways. You can help us out, whether it is, you know, by checking out some of our, you know, hubs for content creation, or, you know, hopping on your favorite podcasting app of choice. You know, I know we've been kind of, like, light on reviews as of late, but you could always submit reviews over on iTunes or your podcasting app of choice. We'll read them on the show. But Ramses, we have this awesome content creation hub where people can find all sorts of crazy content. So why don't you go ahead and plug our Overwatch Recall?
Of course. Personal note, Overwatch Recall has been a way that I found a bunch of shows that I personally enjoy. I know that's how I got on Flank. That's how I got High Noon in the first place.
Hey, hold on. Did you guys see that there's 2 on the flanks now?
Is there?
Yeah, so Overwatch TMZ on Twitch. I just saw this today. Sorry, I just derailed you horribly. But Overwatch TMZ rebranded to On the Flank. And I don't think they know that there's already a podcast named On the Flank.
It's kind of similar to Heroes Never Die and Polygon.
Those evil bastards.
I shake my fist.
Yeah. But that's definitely something interesting to note. I know I don't have them in the directory, and even if I did, I wouldn't put them under as On the Flank.
Yeah, I only found them because Frito, for some reason, guested on their podcast, and I was like, Overwatch TMZ, and so I watched it. Then today, it just popped up, and I was like, On the Flank, and I thought it was going to be our buds, you know, that we did the round table with, but it wasn't. I was like, oh boy,
awkward.
But anyways, if you want to find the proper On the Flank online, of course, it's one of the shows listed on Overwatch Recall, which is of course our listing of Overwatch League, and just variety, Overwatch General, Path to Pro, everything. Podcasts for everything Overwatch online on our website at owlnshow.com/owl. OW Recall. I'm sorry. I'm so used to throwing the L in there. So owlnshow.com/OW Recall. We release new episodic listings every single week, so you can get caught up and you can figure out what else you missed for each episode. Keep up to date with us on Twitter. And of course, you can follow the show on Twitter. You can follow Overwatch Recall on Twitter at just OW Recall, correct?
That is correct. And I will note this past week, we actually had 34 podcasts releasing a new episode. which is the most I've ever seen since I started doing Overwatch Recall. So it seems like as time keeps going on and the league continues to grow, we're getting that many more like esports specific podcasts that are starting to pop up, including one that Ramsey started here not that long ago. But Ed, we have a number of different ways how our listeners can get a hold of us. So why don't you let them know how they can contact our show?
All right. Well, you can contact our show through email at contact@show.com. We are on Twitter, so we at OWL by the numbers. We do have a website, and that is show.com. We do have a YouTube channel, so that's youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We are on Discord. Come join us over there at discord.me/OWLN Show. We are streaming presently live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLN Show. We are a Twitch affiliate to help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. Our podcast network does stream pretty regularly. So on Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, we have Overwatch League Network. Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, we have this show, OWL by the numbers. And then Wednesdays, we have the show Totem and I Do, Heroes Never Die, which usually airs at 5 p.m. Pacific. I don't know about tomorrow since I will be out of town. So Totem is just going to get some random person to try and replace me. I don't know if anyone can truly...
I don't know if I can find someone to talk for 2 hours straight arguing about Houston Outlaws.
Yes. So, and then we do have host streams when available, usually on Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. And then we do have a Patreon, in case you didn't know. And that is at patreon.com/OWL Network. So we recently launched our network's Patreon page for those that want to support our Overwatch network even further. So tiers start at just $1 a month. You too can join the likes of Master and Above patrons like Blazing Bob, Brendan, Gabby, Ice Ham Jello. Is it Ice Ham Jello? And thanks again for all your support. Ice Jam. I still want to know the name of it, how that name came about. So, before we get to contact for the host, time for Ednar's random question of the week. And I know you've all been super excited.
42.
Is it where's the skin that you owe Ramses, or?
Oh no.
Or the skin that you owe Totem?
No, I got Totem his. So shush. How many lows could Rob Lowe rob if Rob Lowe could rob lows?
4.
See? How many lows could Rob Lowe rob if Rob Lowe could rob lows? That's a conundrum.
Yeah.
First off, would Rob Lowe rob Lowe's, or would he look in the mirror at Lowe's and go, "Stop pooping"? So,
quality content.
This
Quality content.
derailed for sure.
That's just what Ed does.
I think I found out how Heroes Never Die goes 3 hours every week, Totem.
We actually only ran 203 this past week, even
a
despite
short
all the
episode.
snafus.
All right, so you can contact me personally at Edanar Overwatch. That's EDANAR Overwatch. Bob, where can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB.
All right, Ramses, where can our listeners find you over on social media?
You can find me at Ramses_OW, and you can find the other show I do, of course, Push the Point, at PushPointPod. Have a new episode coming out pretty soon as we record this, so should be later tonight.
Awesome, and as for myself, you can find me over on Twitter at Totally_DrunkCTR. But with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and close out the show. So thank you again for everyone that's been hanging out with us live tonight on Twitch. And, of course, we got to thank all of our repeat listeners. This has been episode number 13 of OWL by the Numbers. I've been your host, Simply Drunk, joined by Edanar, Ramses, and Blazing Bob. And we hope to see you back for tomorrow's episode of Heroes Never Die. Whatever that may entail, I still do not know at this point. But take care, guys.
Get juggled.
3-2, Houston! 3-2!
I'm still not buying it.
Neither am I, but still!
Yeah, okay. Later.
Later.